right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, joined once again by my partner in crime, Mr. Big D, Daryl Ortiz, coming off of, we'll call it our first couple of shows for Raw and SmackDown of 2020. We did have a world title change. It just wasn't the one that we thought was going to happen.
Well, we kind of, but we can get into it. Yeah.
So, I mean, I do want to start this off for Monday Night Raw. And maybe I just didn't do a good job of keeping up with it. So I'm going to tell this from my perspective. When I turned on Raw and I saw everything, it was like a Stranger Things tribute. I was completely caught off guard. I didn't realize. I think they had announced it maybe a couple of days before that they were doing a Stranger Things themed Monday Night Raw. I was not aware of that. So when I turned it on, I'm going to tell you, for me, it was jarring. And I didn't like it for the reason that I was like, this is like a Halloween cosplay episode of Monday Night Raw, which is supposed to be the Raw anniversary for WWE. And so when I saw it, I was like, Raw Netflix anniversary, did they cancel it? It's now just a Stranger Things tribute. And it was less about WWE and more about Netflix and Netflix's properties. So I wasn't a fan of that personally. I'm sure, I know it's not a big deal, but I just wanted to give you that context. When I switched it on, I was like, what the heck's happening? And this
get that.
Feels like a kind of a slap in the face to the WWE fans. But what was your take on this, Big D?
I actually, honestly, I didn't mind it. I did like it, just because I do like the show Stranger Things, and I did catch the announcement that they were going to be doing Stranger Things. I guess I was a little more prepared, and it makes sense because the final season of Stranger Things just aired, and the finale already debuted, and so now they're just they're on Netflix, so it's kind of like Netflix is kind of like my ball, my court, my rules.
Right.
So it's just kind of like that's kind of the way I felt by it. You know, they had the obligatory plugs and all that good stuff. But my only complaint, I will say I do have one complaint. Two. There are some segments I felt a little hokey just because they were trying really hard to like tie in Stranger Things, which is fine. I get it. All the puns had to circle around it. The chapter things, yeah.
Like that was kind of eye-rollingly cheesy to me.
It was. But my other complaint actually was with something they didn't do. And how are you going to have a Stranger Things themed episode and not let Finn Balor come out as the Demon King in the match? Like that would have probably been, I feel that would have been the time to do it. But I know that they did an interview. He did an interview recently with Cody Rhodes where he talked about how he felt that it's not as impactful as it used to be. So I guess he's just waiting to see what happens with that. But that's a conversation for another day, but that's probably my only gripe, honestly, about it. I did enjoy the show. Again, I'm a fan of both shows, Stranger Things and Raw, obviously, so I did enjoy it. But just some quick little hits here for everybody. We did have, I felt like they treated this almost like a PLE, which I did appreciate because there wasn't a lot of like backstage stuff. This was like more like recap fight. So it kind of felt like a PLE kind of, which was pretty cool. It was the 1 year anniversary of them being on Netflix. So that's why it was also Stranger Things themed and all that good stuff. But first match was Rhea Ripley, Io Sky defeating the Kabuki Warriors for the tag titles. The tag titles do change hands. This was actually a very hard-hitting like opener for the show. I think this was a good way to start the show. The crowd was hot. They were in it. There was a lot of heat going in, and it was kind of like a catalyst, right? Because the story just kept progressing. And part of me feels that this is kind of the beginning of the end of the partnership between Rhea and Io, just because I know right now they're like BFFs and their entrances are together and all that good stuff. But at some point they did have their falling outs and they did have their differences and everything. So I don't know if maybe this is because Rhea doesn't really stay tag teamed for long. She's more of a solo act. So I'm curious as to where this is going to go. It caught my attention, definitely. These are two championship caliber individuals. And to see how they compete together as a tag team. I do like the tag team. It does work, obviously, but I'm intrigued. I don't know about you.
Yeah. No, and I figured this was probably going to happen. I was like, well, I think it makes sense at this point to let Rhea and Io have their tag team title run. I don't think it's going to be a long run. I think that there's so many tag teams that they have at this point between Nia Jackson, Lash Legend, of course, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair in the mix. They'll probably drop the titles relatively soon. I'm going to say probably within maybe a couple of months. I think it'll happen. But it was good. It was good stuff. And this was what I thought was interesting too, when they kicked off the show and they said, WWE is turning upside down because of like the
Hmm.
Stranger Things. I almost got the impression after this one, I was like, huh, what are they gonna turn upside down by switching all three titles, which I thought would have been cool. And it almost felt that way after the women's intercontinental championship match too. And I was like,
Yeah.
huh, are they gonna do this? Are they gonna pull all three? And unfortunately, rather than turning it upside down, they kept the status quo at the end. But we'll talk about that when we
Well, we'll
get
talk about that one
closer
later.
to it.
I got some points on that one too. But yeah, so just like
Yeah,
you said, Becky Lynch did defeat Maxine Dupree. She won the Intercontinental title.
yeah,
She's been, obviously been trying to get that going. I know I had mentioned it too. I said it'll be a matter of time before Becky Lynch gets her title back.
yeah.
It does legitimize her claim to, main event status again, gives her a tangible gold to chase because now she's going to want to get the next one. I don't. So here's kind of my thing though. Like I feel, excuse me, it just feels like another layer for her. She's going to feel like, I think it's just going to add another layer to her character. I think she's going to keep pushing. She's going to get cocky again. It's going to be
Yeah.
like the same cycle. She's going to get cocky again. And then she's going to end up losing the title. But then she's going to go after the main title. So I think this is kind of just like a placeholder for her for now while they kind of clear up the main event spot for her. And eventually she'll be women's champ again, but just not yet. So I think this is kind of like I don't want to say um with the consolation. I just think this is more like I said, a placeholder because she doesn't
Yeah.
stay comfortable for very long. So
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting too to see what they do now that Stephanie Vacchiota appears to actually have a legitimate ankle injury. I mean, she was
I
out
think
there
that's
for
what they're
good
waiting
run
for.
doing the promo, and then of course they had Raquel attack her leg again. So I'm wondering now if it's yeah, you did the title change with Becky, but depending on what happens with Stephanie, do you try to do the two belt Becky thing again, except make it IC title and women's and the WWE or the women's world title, excuse me. I don't know, but I do think you're right. I think this is kind of like the precursor, kind of pushing her back into that main event picture. And it probably makes sense to try to do that now, depending on how long and how bad the injury is. Obviously, Becky I thought when she walked out, she was going to vacate the title.
Me
And I'm
too.
like, oh, she didn't. She's like, hey, I'm still going to. And then they had that whole segment with, Raquel targeting the injury. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Becky. But I think you're right. I think this is going to be an opportunity to start working her back into the world title picture.
Yeah. So speaking of other people working into the world title picture, we had Liv Morgan taking out Lyra Valkyria. This was actually a pretty solid match. It kind of gives me the feeling that Liv Morgan is just kind of resetting her momentum post return.
Yeah.
This was her first match back. She looked good. She looked strong. She came out on top, and I think this is exactly the match that needed to happen for her to kind of get that momentum going again. So nothing flashy, just solid.
Yeah, I mean, nothing flashy. It was lots of shenanigans with Roxanne Perez and Bailey at ringside. So there's a lot of things happening here, but Liv picked up the win. One thing I did want to mention as well, we had a segment where the Usos just came out to do like a victory lap.
Hmm.
Do you feel like kind of Jay Uso's entrance and all that stuff has kind of run its course? I felt like the crowd was pretty flat when they came out to do their celebration. They were in the crowd and they were doing the yeet thing and raising their hands. And when the camera panned back, there was only like a third of the crowd that was into it, and I was like, what is happening here? Like they really weren't celebrating, and I was like, oh man, have the Usos used up all their goodwill now? They're the tag champs again, but it just felt like the crowd support and enthusiasm wasn't there. I don't know, maybe I just
Well,
felt that way, or kind of what was your take on this?
so I mean, I love the Usos, and I think putting the
Yeah,
titles on them was a good move. I've been
agreed.
saying forever that Jay needs to get back with Jimmy because that's where he shines better, and I'm glad they did that. So that's great, and I think this is just kind of maybe a times like a let's save some time before we get the OG bloodline back together and get the gold on
Yeah,
them again, because Roman will eventually have gold again. But as far as the entrance goes, I feel like personally I don't mind it. I like it. I'm a big fan of crowd participation and entrances, and it gives you something to do as a fan. It gives you something to do, along with the superstar and everything. But I think what's gotten stale for me is like the run it back
yeah,
thing. Like
yeah.
that's
Well,
like it
because
just takes
nobody
so
seemed to
much
really want
time.
to run it back on Monday.
Well,
They're like, run it
even
back, and
like
it was just
I
like,
think they did it one time like mid match. Like they like
yeah,
cleared the ring and then they did it again, and I was just like, okay, like let's just stop doing that. But I think it's a great entrance. I think it's a great theme. I don't know if maybe just the crowd is just already worn out from it. I don't know. Maybe they just need a
Yeah,
refresh. I'm
it's hard to
indifferent.
say. It was strange. They like everybody seemed very blasé about them being out there, and I was like, huh. Like maybe it's just it was in Brooklyn, I believe. Maybe it was just the crowd. Maybe it was the Stranger Things theme. Maybe it was a lot of stuff kind of taking away from it. We'll see. We'll see if they can if they get a reception like that.
If they
Monday
get
night.
another reception like that, Hunter's gonna pull it.
Yeah,
He's gonna change
it's
it.
going to be
Yeah.
like they got to do something else. And then after this, it was main event
Yeah.
time.
So we
So
had
take us
CM
through
Punk.
CM Punk versus Braun Breaker, one we were really looking forward to. And I will say it was a great match of the night
It
for
was.
me
This was
for
my
the
match
first
of the
time.
night. This was
Yeah.
a long physical match. The crowd was in it. I think Meltzer
Yeah, it
gave it
started.
like
It was
four.
there was like 30 minutes left when it started.
Yeah.
Not when the
Yeah.
entrances were done, like when the match actually
No,
started.
yeah.
And I was like,
This
oh
was
man,
this was
this
a
is gonna
long,
go on for a while.
which was good.
Yeah.
It was good. You could tell Punk was kind of gassed towards the end. Naturally, I mean, hell, that's a long
Yeah.
match. I mean, and they both were working. There wasn't a lot of rest spots. This was all gas. This was my match of the night. Both men actually worked believably. They worked a believable psychological and spot progression. Right, is what I saw in this. Punk was carrying Breaker to build them, up. This was like I did like the touch. Let me rewind a little bit. I did like the touch of CM Punk wearing the Letterman's jacket like his dad used to, like
Yeah.
Braun's dad used to do, the Steiner brothers used to do, and it was actually the Michigan colors too, which was what they
Yeah.
would normally do. So I like that little tad of psychology that CM Punk puts into the matches, because he does that with each opponent. If you notice, he does kind of a little nod to like their heritage or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel CM Punk, yes, he won this match. And while I'm not upset about it because Braun didn't look bad in defeat, I feel he did not. He had a hell of a match. Punk survived. He didn't take this match, he survived it barely. And I feel they're going to run this back at some point. And when they do, Braun's going to come out on top. I think this was just kind of like, I guess, seasoning, so to speak, for Braun to kind of give him that main event taste and kind of put him there and show him that he can do it. So I think it's gonna be sooner rather than later, because Braun Breaker is gonna be livid. But I think it gives Punk the look of like he's like a tough guy. He can fend off people now, but it helps his character. But I feel like this may have helped Braun a little bit more, because now the crowds are more behind Braun, as I saw. So I
Yeah.
think this will eventually be run back. I think, oh, excuse me, Jesus Christ. I feel like there is an opportunity there for Braun Breaker to kind of just catch CM Punk on the next one, because CM Punk is going to have more matches. I feel they're going to get harder and harder for him to win. I don't think they're going to give him uh, I don't think they're going to give him like easy matches and layups anymore. I think now he's going to have like the longer, harder matches, and that's what's going to be the downfall. They're going to let him kind of push himself up, and then he's just going to get, you know, eventually conquered by Braun Breaker. That's my
Yeah.
thought.
Well, yeah. So I felt like it was a great match, as you said. This is a great match. There was a lot of great spots. You had that top rope elbow from kind of diving elbow from Burmaker, the one he usually does off of the apron, needed off the top
Yeah.
rope through the announce table. There was
Yeah.
some really great stuff here. The problem I had with it, like I did feel like they should have let Braun Breaker win. I felt like now's his time. He's like red hot, so that was a little bit disappointing to me. And he won clean. Like they had the shenanigans where everybody came out from the Vision came out from the back, and then you had Rey Mysterio and company all came out to like clear. Dragon Lee, Rey Mysterio all came out and cleared and bent up. So it was like, okay, it's just man versus man. No one has any help, and then Punk won clean. And I was like, oh man. To your point, I don't think it made Breaker look bad. It was just like, come on, like let the kid have his time. What I
Mhm.
also think it does is it now really telegraphs that Breaker's going to win the Rumble
Yeah.
at this point. Like
He's going to run through everybody at the Rumble. Yeah.
yeah, he'll come through. He's going to be angry. He's going to be motivated. He wants another opportunity. His opportunity is going to be at the Rumble, and he's going to kind of have one of those Brock Lesnar runs where he throws everybody. He'll probably break the record for most eliminations in this one. So it's almost telegraphed a little too much, and WWE does that. But it was really really great stuff. I was just like, man, I wish they had just pulled the trigger now. But to your point, it does allow them to now build. They can have him be the winner of the Rumble. Obviously, he's going to go after CM Punk, and they'll set that up for WrestleMania, and it'll be great. And then they'll probably do the coronation of Braun Breaker at that point, which will probably be more impactful than doing it on a Monday Night Raw. But But
Well,
still,
because
it would have
then
been
you,
nice to see Trick win.
you'll probably have Rick and Scott Steiner there too when that
Yeah,
happens. That's how
yeah,
you
you'd
know.
have like
That's
Vin
how I
Velez.
knew he wasn't gonna win because his dad wasn't there.
That wasn't there exactly. Yeah, and
Usually,
then
when someone's
Smack.
gonna win a title, they have their family like in the crowd,
Yeah,
and
like
they
they
pan to them
telegraph it
like
where it's like,
constantly.
here's
They're like, oh
everyone, so that way
yeah.
they're all part of the celebration, and that. So yeah, true that,
All I'm
true
gonna
that.
say is that if Scott Steiner doesn't sit ringside with the chainmail on him, I don't want him.
Yeah, I
Like
know he's got to
he needs to
be
sit there like in normal street clothes, but with the
street
chainmail
clothes
on
with
and
the
just like
chainmail on.
be there.
It'd be hilarious.
I love it. I would love it.
Well, and then you had WWE's on their international tour now. So SmackDown was coming from Berlin, Germany. 3 hour SmackDown again. It was the big night with the 3 Phases of Hell match. And then just like on Monday Night Raw, we had 3 title matches again, which I was like, there's a lot of symmetry here. You know, the big things that happened, Randy Orton was out for an exchange with Trick Williams. So it looks like you're, you know, you're going to have a program probably form up between Trick Williams and Randy Orton, which I actually would love to see. I think it's really great. Obviously, that's going to give Trick more of a rub than he already has. You know, you put him up against somebody as seasoned as Orton. Hopefully, they put him over on Randy Orton versus having Orton beat him. Clearly, it was kind of odd. It felt like he's uh, was kind of pseudo heel, but now full heel, obviously, with some of the things that he said and did from a Trick Williams standpoint. And then you had Ray Phoenix versus Trick Williams for the first match. It was really good, but it was a little too competitive. And they think the justification for it being competitive is that Randy kind of hit him with a drape DDT and punched him a couple of times right before the match started.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, Trick's already, you know, somewhat hurt, but I wish it hadn't been that competitive for a showcase match, because for me, I was like, this is the opportunity, you know, have Trick come in and do a couple of squash matches. But again, Randy Orton getting some damage on him early was probably justification for that. Good stuff though. It was a good way to kick off SmackDown. What were your thoughts on Trick Williams?
Yeah, it was a good way to kick off SmackDown, but it was also a good in-ring debut for him as well. I think this was a great opponent to do it on. Wasn't a throwaway match by any means. This actually sets Trick Williams up as a noticeable like new threat or future contender at some point. So I think that's the goal for them. They want to strap a rocket to him. Not yet, but they will. And I feel like they see a lot of big things in him. And of course, you got Obafemi also coming in. It's going to be coming in soon. But I feel like Trick Williams is going to be up for like a maybe a U.S. title run pretty soon after he beefs with Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton is going to give him the rub. I think Randy Orton is going to let him do business and let him put him over. And so I think that's why we have that going, because I know Randy Orton had mentioned a few times he's nearing his retirement run. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Randy Orton looks phenomenal. He still moves phenomenal. But the question is, how does he feel internally?
Yeah. Well, and he
like,
takes a lot of time off. I think that's helping him maintain some longevity. But it's interesting. They're always like, Randy Orton's back. It's not like he's back from an injury. It's like Randy Orton's back from 2 month vacation.
from
like,
his rest.
He rests and he does that. So
and people don't realize how much work it takes to like keep that that athleticism,
just for him to kind of keep himself maintained at this point, especially at the age that he's at and the amount of matches that he's had and the amount of wear and tear he's put on his body. So, but it's always funny. Like, he's basically a part-timer at this point, but this is a good one. This is a good one for Trick Williams to kind of continue to build his notoriety. After this, we had Alexa Bliss versus Julia for the Women's United States Championship. This one was good. It was fine. And it ended with interference because Charlotte's still missing in action, so she wasn't able to back up Alexa. And then Alexa got attacked by Lash Legend and Nia Jax. And essentially they came down and interfered, and then she lost, and then they beat her up a little bit. Nia Jax hit the Annihilator, and that was that. They're all still feuding basically at this point.
Yeah.
But it was fine. And then after that, we had Jordynne Grace officially signed with SmackDown. So another star coming over. Again, Big D, I'm worried about who's going to now be jettisoned to make room for all of these call-ups, because we're getting a lot. There's not enough TV time for everyone that's getting called up at this.
Well, that's why they moved SmackDown to 3 hours. I mean,
yeah.
And Raw technically has no time limit. Remember, Triple H said it can be as long or short as
it needs to, or be as short as it needs to.
So,
but yeah, it's interesting. But I love having Jordynne Grace on the official main roster. But I was thinking about it because we have Jordynne Grace now on SmackDown. You have Trick Williams now on SmackDown officially. You have Joe Hendry now officially on SmackDown as well.
But he wasn't on the show this week.
He wasn't on this week either, which is odd. Nobody said his name, so he couldn't appear, apparently. And then I will say, would have been my match of the night was the Wyatt Six versus the MFTs, had it not been for the main event.
Yeah.
I really thought this was a great match. I hated the ending, where it was Solo just grabbed the lantern to distract
It was like
Uncle Howdy.
Undertaker-esque.
Yeah, it was the Undertaker urn thing, which I was like, oh, you guys have done this before, but it caused a distraction. And then Tama Tonga hit the cutthroat on Uncle Howdy and got the pin off the distraction, which is odd to me that people can kick out of finishers all the time, but then you're going to have the mid card guy hit like a mid level finisher and it'd be over with. That was a little much for me. I wish Tama Tonga hadn't gotten the win over Uncle Howdy that way, but
Yeah.
it was really good. I wasn't wild about the finish, and now Solo's got the lantern, so this is going to be the continued storyline of trying to get the
Yeah.
lantern back.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like that is going to my hopes, I guess I should say, is them taking the like him taking the lantern turns the Wyatt Six up a level, a few notches, and makes them even more unhinged and a little more of a scary threat. Because I think they're kind of just like chilling. They're the champs. They're fine. But I hope this kind of brings out the more like I guess you could say, I guess for lack of a better term, more of the spooky vibes, more of the like, hey, like you shouldn't have grabbed this. Like you took something that you don't know what it's capable of, and I think that's gonna drive them to like the brink of insanity where they're just gonna like just get ugly fast. And I'm hoping that's what it is. I'm hoping that's what this happens here because I feel like the Wyatt Six need that. I love the Wyatt Six, of course. Obviously, I love Bray Wyatt, but at the same time I feel like not that their title run was getting stale, but I feel like people kind of forgot they were the tag champions and forget that they're on SmackDown sometimes because the people don't know what to do with them. So I hope this kind of gives them more opportunity for backstage stuff, and I hope this brings them back up to the bigger picture and pushes them as like these like uber unstoppable monsters that like now you took what's ours and now we're just gonna like go put you through hell just so we can get it back. So I'm hoping that's what happens.
I hope so too. I hope you're right because I think the problem with the Wyatt Six is that they've done so many like stop start booking with them,
Yeah,
where they get them started on something and then they disappear, and then they'll pop back up and then get them started and they'll disappear again. Part of it was Bo Dallas's injury that played into it too, but I worry that if they don't do something extreme with them and really push them and take it to the next level, that group is going to be one of the cuts.
yeah.
I
I
worry
hope
about
not.
that. I
I
hope
hope
not, but
not.
I because
Yeah.
there's so much pageantry and there's so much stuff that goes into what they do that it's like, hey, this is an easy one if we need to save time and cut time. Let's
Well,
just
they cut
stop
their
doing
entrance
this.
kind of short too.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. And I'm like, I'm worried. I really hope they do turn it up a notch because, like you said, I forget sometimes that they're holding the tag titles too because they don't defend them and they don't have much of the storyline with that. So it'll be a shame if that happens. I really hope that you're right. I hope they do turn it up and take that to the next level. For this, we got basically a squash match between Jordan Grace and Alba Fire, like a true squash match. Jordan kind of ran her through and hit the torture rack bomb, which was called Beast Mode. So Beast Mode is her finisher, and it was pretty cool. I love Jordan Grace. I do feel like they had a little face off with her and
That's
Jade
really what this
Cargill.
was for. Yeah, to
Yeah,
have her
which
and Jade come out.
I almost worry a little. Is it too much too soon to have her like immediately starting to kind of feud with Jade Cargill? And because it's like you would jump her right into the women's world title picture, and
She
I
won't
don't.
win it though.
Yeah, she
I think
won't.
they're gonna feed her to Jade and let
That's what I
Jade
worry
beat
about.
her.
Yeah,
But see, okay, I get it if they want to like she's hot, she's new, fresh, hot, whatever, and she comes in and she puts up a fight against Jade, and Jade just puts her away and says like, "Yeah, I told you, that's what I thought," and like walks away. And maybe that maybe her storyline becomes like, "Hey, now I need to like come back and like overcome and like run roughshod through everybody so I can get back up there again." I'm hoping that's what they do, but they have to do it well. They have to do it. There's a certain way they have to do it so that she doesn't look like a joke. Because
yeah,
if they just feed her to Jade and Jade just squashes her and walks away, like it's gonna do more harm than good. So I guess we'll have
it
to wait and
totally
see what
will.
happens.
And this is where and you see them just physically standing next to each other. Jade like is so. I mean, Jordan Grace obviously phenomenal shape,
Oh yeah,
tons of
power
muscle
lifter.
mass,
Yeah,
power lifter, but she looks so small compared to Jade when you see
yeah.
Jade next to her.
Well,
Like
Jade's tall.
it's
That's the thing. And
staggering.
Jordan
Yeah,
Grace
Jade's
is
tall.
not
She's
very
a former
tall. Yeah,
basketball player, so she's
yeah.
tall, but Jade's built also. So it's one of those things where I'm like, gosh, just the comparison between the two, he look just towers over her and looks so much physically bigger than her. So I worry that they immediately throw Jordan Grace in there and just again feed her
I
to Jade. I
I
worry
feel
about
like I hope they don't do that. I don't think they will. I think her facing Alba Fire is kind of a hint. Like they're gonna start her off gradually and build
Yeah.
her before she's ready. So we'll see.
I hope so. And then after this, we got Carmelo Hayes doing the United States Championship Open Challenge, and his opponent was Shinsuke Nakamura with his Shinsuke's old music, which I love.
I love that.
Totally back into being a face at this point. He just kind of just shifted back to being a face again. This is really, really good. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I do want to say here at this point, though, earlier on in the night, they made the announcement that the final hour of SmackDown would be the Three Stages of Hell match. He said it's going to be the final hour, and it will be a commercial-free final hour of SmackDown. This match went into hour 3, so it wasn't an hour long that we got for the main event, and there were 2 commercial breaks. There was a commercial break during this one during the final hour, so I'm sure they'll say, well, what we meant was that the final match
During
would
the
be
match,
commercial
yeah.
free. And it's like, yeah, but you said final hour was commercial free and the whole final hour was going to be 3 stages of hell, and it wasn't. But of course, you had a really good match with Shinsuke Nakamura and Carmelo Hayes. Of course, Carmelo Hayes retained, hit the nothing but net. Good stuff, but it was what it was. You knew Carmelo was not going to drop the title this quickly.
Yeah, no, this was a good opponent to do it with. This builds some credibility with excuse me, Carmelo Hayes. This makes him look strong, and it just reinforces the weight of that title. And I think they're just going to keep. I think they're going to keep pushing him up. So I like this. Shinsuke looked good too.
Yeah, Shinsuke looked really great. So we finally got the 3 stages of hell. The 3 matches started with 30 minutes left. And I was like, we're getting 30 minutes to have 3 falls. I mean, obviously, if you need it, but you knew you were going to need the 3rd fall. Compared to the main event on Raw, which was 30 minutes for 1 match. It's interesting, and I always like the way that they do these. The first fall only took 6 minutes. Like the first one was really quick, and you had Drew hitting a low blow and a claymore. And it's always interesting to me that whenever there's like a best 2 out of 3, that all of a sudden at the earliest stage when people are fresh, they can't kick out of finishers. And then later on, when everyone's beat up and exhausted and they've destroyed each other, they're kicking out of every finisher. And
it's that adrenaline, man. It's the adrenaline rush.
Sure it is. They're like, hey, we need to get a quick fall right here. So your superpowers aren't going to be turned on until we get to the end.
Well, it's just like the games, like the video game. You got to build the meter. So I mean, the meter's not up
and build it up. But I was like, come on, guys. It's like, so immediately had that happen. The second fall was the falls count anywhere, and there was obviously that great spot where you had Drew on the table. They're out in the crowd, and Cody climbs up on the concourse like railing and does the splash. Doesn't pin Drew there because it's like
I thought he was going to pin him there.
Yeah, which I'm like, it's falls count anywhere. Instead, they fought their way back to the ring.
I thought he did. No, he did.
No, he did. He remember he got ringside. He climbed up on the announce table, hit the crossroads on the announce table, and pinned him there. And then that was when the match was over. Because I was like, why didn't he just pin him in the concourse area?
I could have sworn maybe I was half tired, but it was.
No,
I thought he pinned him, got a 2 count, and then he.
Well, no, but my thing is, why wouldn't he be?
Why didn't the match end there?
Yeah, the match should have just ended there. It's like instead he dragged him all the way back down.
Well, because they need to be closer to the ring so they can drop the cage.
Well, so they can drop the cage, but I was like, come on.
Tripp's like.
Again, that should have taken him out. That spot should have destroyed him. Instead,
I see what you're saying.
Had to go back and they had to do this whole thing ringside. And I know it was because of proximity, because he had to roll him into the ring, and then the cage had to come down.
And I love how they still played the music for the ring.
Yeah.
That mean for the cage, they still played the music and did the lights for the dude. Just hurry up and drop this thing.
And it's like, well, they need a rest anyway, so they're just kind of laying there waiting for the cage to come down. This was a really great match. It was the match of the night for me. The one thing I will say is that I hated the finish. So here's what I mean by that. I love the fact that Drew McIntyre won. I love the fact that Drew McIntyre is victorious. Here's what I didn't like. You had all the stuff that happened. You had the super cutter off the top. You had some cool stuff that happened during the cage match portion. So at the end, you basically have Cody's pretty much incapacitated. You have Drew McIntyre going to go out the door. And as he's going out the door, the hooded figure shows up and stands in front of him to block him, and then pulls it off and is Jacob Fatu. And I was like, oh, are they going to do this to like cost Drew again? And he attacks Drew and pushes him back into the ring. Then Cody grabs Jacob, and then Jacob turns around and fights him, and they're brawling. And then at that point, Drew gets out of the cage. And so then the narrative becomes, well, Jacob really cost Cody. It's like, no, he didn't. He didn't cost Cody. Like, Drew was already on his way out. He was already leaving, and Jacob stopped him. But then Jacob kind of balanced it out by attacking Cody. So there was really no point of him coming out other than to interfere and say, Cody can say, well, if it had not been for Jacob Fatu, I could still be the champion here. And it's like, I feel like the writers did this to try to help Cody save face a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm like, if you had just cut out the Jacob Fatu part completely, because he canceled out both of his actions, Drew still wins, except Drew wins clean at that point. Like, he got out of the cage and that was it. So I felt like it was done to kind of diminish Drew's win a little bit. It was done to help Cody save face a little bit because you could always point at Jacob Fatu interfering. So it seemed completely, I would rather have just had Drew get out of the cage and win. And like, let it be clean-ish. I mean, he had the low blow on the first fall, but let it be cleanish when he finished up. He did what he needed to do to win. Cody cheats to win all the time, too. It was just kind of inserting him, really, for no reason other than to say Jacob Fatu's back and he attacked both people.
Well, so I saw it a little bit differently.
Yeah,
and I think that's pretty cool.
I was just rubbed wrong because I wanted Drew to have his moment in the sun, nice and clean as a whistle, and walk away and leave. And he's
I get that, but
so
I feel like Jacob Fatu, I don't think he cheapened it. I think he maybe just complicated it. So here's what I think happened. So Cody didn't get screwed. He actually made a choice, right? So Jacob was beating the hell out of Drew. Why didn't Cody just walk out and escape? He chose his pride because he wants to be the hero and he wants to be in the right. So he's like, hey, Jacob, what are you doing in my match? Had he not done that and just left, he would have won and retained his title. But he didn't. So he chose to confront Jacob when it had nothing to do with him. And Jacob just attacked him. Drew then was like, I'm out, like, bye. And he just rolled out. He capitalized on that moment. Well, and he did what he had to do.
Well, he should have.
Yeah.
Because he was already leaving anyway before. So it's
so I think that's what I think this is more for Cody's story building anyways. And I talked about how I wanted to heal Cody so much. And I think this is how we do it. I think this is because you can hear the crowd was booing the hell out of Cody and they were cheering Drew. Obviously, because they're international crowd. I get it. But what happens here now is excuse me, I'm so sorry. So anyways, what happens here is I feel like Cody now, he's gonna it's all about his arc, right? Like, he's gonna lose the title in controversial fashion. It's pushing him more to like a dark, intense, like heel type level heat now, because in the beginning they were kind of making him like a heel because what happened? Like, he couldn't touch Drew and he kept wanting to attack him. They had to hold him back, and because it was the picture, what he said about his dad, and now the watch and all that. And I feel like this is kind of like just chipping away at the shield that is Cody's face persona. And I think now it's going to start cracking and it's going to start becoming more and more heel. I think this is the driving factor. So that's why that's why I liked it. Because if this is what they do, then it makes sense. But if he just comes back as like, God, guys, you know what? I messed up. I'll earn it back. Then I'm gonna be like, okay, that was dumb then. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, we'll see.
Well, we'll see. Well, and I get it. I just think for me, it's, if they don't do the heel turn, they've been teasing the heel turn for Cody for months and months and months and months. And I'm thinking, Cody, since when are you concerned about doing the right thing? You've cheated like the last couple of times.
Yeah, exactly.
So now all of a sudden,
you could have just walked out, man. Like you could have just left and been like, bye.
And that's where, don't get me wrong, I think it is long overdue for Drew McIntyre to be WWE champion.
But yeah,
I think I hope he has a long title reign. I don't think that he will. Now I'm more worried that you're going to have Sami Zayn win like Elimination Chamber, and then it's going to be Sami versus Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania.
Well, no, there's going to be
because remember, he can't beat Drew. He can't beat Drew. But he's already talked about he wants to be world champion, but like Drew's his foil. And he said earlier in the night, I kind of hope that Drew wins because I haven't beaten him before. And I'm like, oh, are you gonna use this to get Sami his world title finally? And you're gonna do it at WrestleMania? Because that would suck. I hope that's not where this is going.
No, I hope not. I hope that doesn't happen. But I think I'm looking here for the card. They announced a tournament for next week. There's gonna be a tournament for number one contender tournament for the title. Excuse me. And you have quite a few people on there that I think would be interesting opponents for Drew. But I think Drew's title run is going to be long. I think it's going to run him through Mania. Whether he hangs on to it at Mania or not will depend on who his opponent is. I hope it's not Cody. I hope Cody does eventually turn heel and go back to the title picture. I wouldn't mind that, but not like that. I think he needs to, because we already said Royal Rumble is probably going to be Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be that.
Well, that's why I think Rumble will be Braun Breaker, and like maybe that sets up Sammy to win Elimination Chamber and get the other call
I
your
see what
shot.
you're saying. I hope not.
I hope. Well, and I sincerely hope not. And here's the other thing too. Don't count Cody out of coming back and just picking up the title again in a few months. I almost look at it as he's playing catch up, because now, for whatever reason, it's become more prestigious to win, like be a 17 time
Like the number of title reigns. Yeah.
Title reigns, that they're going to have him like drop, do shorter stints where he's dropping the title so he can rack up his title reigns.
If that's the case, let Randy pick up the title then.
Yeah.
Let Randy take it off of Drew. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, it's like you might as well. But I've noticed that there's almost like more emphasis on you're better because you have multiple title reigns. Like, well, that just means you lost the title more. That means you lost it like 16 times and you had to come back. So I don't know that makes it more prestigious, but for some reason it's viewed that way. Like John Cena's greatest because he's had the most title reigns. It's like, yeah, he also dropped the title a lot. So I almost feel like they're trying to play a little catch up with Cody there so they can get his number of title reigns up. And so this is part of that of, hey, let's make this change now. And, in a few months or maybe by Mania, he's picked it back up again. Hope not. But congratulations to Drew McIntyre.
Hell yeah.
Very well deserved. I've always said he's probably my favorite wrestler right now as far as like total package. And I hope long may he reign in the writer's room, but we'll see.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. And that's it. That's what we got for this week, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave us your comments. Are you happy with your new WWE champion, or do you think they should have gone a different direction? Let us know. Leave us your comments. We always love to hear from you. And that's what we got for this week. So until next time, I've been Michael D'Angelo. You've been Big D Daryl Ortiz. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you soon.